This is crucial to our survival.
The chairmen are true blue. The omertas are degenerates. Never trust them. Or the white glove.
Pack your Radaway and don't forget your stimpacks. We're about to take the great American road trip at the end of the world. And please make sure you have a pocket full of caps. Hello viewers, it's good to see you. I'm Will from Cultured Vultures and this is basically Fallout. Fallout is a post-apocalyptic RPG series created by Interplay way back in the prehistoric times of 1997, and is currently owned by Bethesda. It's a classic computer RPG, a series which has generally been associated with games akin to Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons this ain't. For one, there are no dragons. Yet. This RPG series will take you out into the vast wasteland, an alternate history USA where atomic warfare has left the world in a near hospitable mess. But as you and your player character learn more about the waste, you'll learn that they are far from uninhabited. You'll meet scores of people, monsters, mutants, aliens, ghouls, and this pain in the arse, and many, many more. Fallout has gone from being a niche RPG with tabletop mechanics to one of the biggest gaming franchises ever. But how did this happen? If you want to see basically continue, please let us know down below. We love doing this series, but we do need your support. So please leave your likes and comments like you're a Fallout 76 player nuking Phil Spencer's house, if you want to see this series continue. Fallout was originally conceived as a sequel to 1988's Wasteland, but when EA wouldn't allow Interplay to license the name, a spiritual successor was the only way to go, and so Fallout was born. Fallout actually started development in 1994 with the sole programmer at Interplay, Tim Kaine. Interplay did not overly seem interested in Fallout, and Kaine had to convince other people at Interplay to help out in their spare time. Fallout was intended to be inspired by tabletop gaming. Many aspects of D&D gameplay is here, such as taking turns in combat, varying chances to hit opponents, and even virtual dice rolls in the mechanics. Initially they sought to use a tabletop system called GURPS, which I assure you isn't a forgotten Victorian disease but instead a tabletop RPG system. But those who hold the rights to GURPS were concerned about the violence in Fallout, so instead an in-house version was created called Special. The Special system added a sense of tactics to Fallout, and battles now needed strategy to succeed. When the water chip failed in Vault 13, it was a major disaster. The water chip was responsible for providing the vault with fresh water, and a replacement was needed, so it's up to you, a humble vault dweller, to voyage out into the harsh wastes in search of a new water chip. Fallout could be a challenging game. There is actually a 100-day time limit to get the water chip back to the vault, and if you can't manage that, it's game over. The game, much like future Fallout games, would feature moral choices. Some of these do not have a good choice. Let me tell you, Fallout was bleak. But it was a big hit with critics, with some labeling it one of the best RPGs in years. That was great praise, as Fallout had competition from the likes of Diablo and Baldur's Gate. Fallout sold around 100,000 copies, not a huge amount, but not bad for 1997. I mean, that was back in the day when people had to consult the yellow pages to see if their sound cards were compatible with certain games. We really do have it a lot better nowadays, don't we? While Fallout didn't set the world on fire as much as it hoped, it did do enough to get a sequel. Fallout 2 did what every great sequel should and improve on the original game in every way. Fallout 2 is the first game in the series that doesn't feature a character that comes from a vault. Instead, you play a descendant of the original Vault Dweller from the original game. The engine and core gameplay stayed the same, but one thing had changed: Fallout 2's content. Fallout 2 had a much more playful tone, with weird and wonderful characters, situations and references. It is also one of the first games to feature gay marriage. Yes, Fallout 2 was chock full of references to other properties, as you can expect to find the likes of everything from Doctor Who to Star Trek, from Airplane to Monty Python. Fallout 2 also frequently breaks the fourth wall, referring to the inner workings of the game itself as well as talking to the player directly. And there are plenty of other careers to get yourself stuck into. Improve your melee by becoming a boxer and fight your way to becoming a champion. Is that too heavy hitting for you? Then why not become a pornographic star called Arnold Swallenbender and quite literally rise your way for the ranks of the porn world? Both of the original Fallout games feature fairly subtle soundtracks, with the game world mostly being filled with atmospheric background music. These early Fallout games would set the stage for using early popular music in juxtaposition to the apocalyptic future. Fallout would feature Maybe by the Ink Spots as its main theme, and Fallout Fallout 2 would use A Kiss to Build a Dream On by Louis Armstrong as its intro song. There are also some interesting companions in Fallout 2, including a talking Deathclaw, a robot dog, and even Skynet itself. Fallout 2 also features the very first appearance for the big bad in the Fallout universe, the Enclave. Fallout 2 also did fairly well, selling in the region of 120,000 copies at time of release, and much like its predecessor, was popular with critics. But there would be a fair wait for the next numbered Fallout game. Instead, we would receive two spin-offs. Firstly, there was Fallout Tactics Brotherhood of Steel in 2001, and it was a tactical squad-based game, which did away with many of the RPG elements in favour of mission-based gameplay. It also gave the player a choice of two modes of combat, a more traditional turn-based approach, and also the choice for real-time combat, a first for the series. It was a solid strategy game and well received by critics and fans alike. Sadly, Fallout Tactics doesn't seem to get much attention these days, and the game is even now considered to be semi-canon at best. The PC was seeing a slump in sales across the board, so consoles were the way to go. So how about we bring Fallout to consoles? There was a console version of Fallout Tactics planned, but that was less of a port and possibly more of a remake. We'll come back to this shortly, put that on the boil for now. Instead, we got the slightly confusingly titled Fallout Brotherhood of Steel in 2004. Sure, it was a few years on from the release of Tactics, but it was an odd choice to give it such a similar name. Also, let's face it guys, gamers are not going to put up with this old-fashioned timey-wimey music. They want modern music, so let's have Fallout filled with new metal. Fallout Brotherhood of Steel was a linear hack-and-slash RPG for the Xbox and PS2 in 2004. It uses the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance engine, another CRPG that had a console version created for it. Brotherhood of Steel was featuring music from the likes of Slipknot and Killswitch Engage, a far cry from Louis Armstrong. I can certainly see why Interplay would want to bring Fallout to consoles. At the time, PC gaming was dying and console gaming was booming. Steam was a mere twinkle in the eye of Gabe Newell, and if Fallout was to survive, the future would probably lie under the television. Brotherhood of Steel, however, wouldn't be the game to do it. It received mixed reviews at best and poor reviews at worst. We wouldn't see another Fallout game for quite some time. Now, we actually have an article on cancelled Fallout games that we could bring into living colour, so we won't go into huge depth here. If you want to see a full-on list of the cancelled Fallout games, then hoot or holler down below, you know what to do. Back in the 2000s, all the best stuff was Extreme, so it would be no surprise to see a game called Fallout Extreme for consoles. Planned to be either a sequel or a similar game to Fallout Tactics, it would feature a team of characters with gunplay and tactical combat. It was never strictly cancelled as it only ever made it to the pitch stage, but it was an interesting concept. Fallout Tactics 2 for the PC would also enter concept stage around 2001, but sadly it was cancelled without a reason. There was also a sequel for Fallout Brotherhood of Steel intended for consoles, which was also cancelled. Project V13, better known as Fallout Online, was in development at Interplay in or around 2007. When Interplay had sold the Fallout rights to Bethesda, there was a clause that would allow Interplay to create a Fallout MMO. Now, it's a very long story full of twists and turns, but long story short, Bethesda decided they didn't want another company working on a game for the IP that they owned, especially as Bethesda had an idea for their own version of Fallout Online. The MMO rights would return to Bethesda in 2012 and the project was cancelled. Maybe we'll go into more detail on this in future. The most famous cancelled Fallout game would be Van Buren, also known as Fallout 3. Van Buren was sadly cancelled in 2003. It was due to be the first Fallout game to use fully 3D graphics that allowed players to rotate the camera throughout the game world. It also had options for real-time combat. The project was a mystery for years, but there were rumours of a tech demo. This tech demo was eventually leaked online to Fallout fan site No Mutants Allowed in 2007 and showed an almost complete game engine. But fear not for all these cancelled projects, as the Fallout license would now move into new hands. It would be a decade until we got another numbered Fallout game, with 10 years passing on from Fallout 2's 1998 release to the debut of Fallout 3 in 2008. The roads back to the waste were a difficult one. At the turn of the decade, Fallout owners Interplay had been in dire straits. The company had been struggling and even bankruptcy could be looming. Interplay had licensed the Fallout IP to a 3-game deal to Bethesda, but with Interplay retaining the IP and full rights to make an MMO. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines Obsidian's developer Troika Games had also been in the mix to license the Fallout IP, as many of the Troika Games team had been instrumental on the creation of Fallout. But it was not meant to be. By 2007, Interplay's situation had worsened, and they were forced to sell the full Fallout IP to Bethesda outright to avoid bankruptcy. Despite all this bankruptcy malarkey, Interplay still exists in 2024. Even weirder than their current existence is the fact that they don't seem to do, well, anything. They haven't published a brand new game since 2015's Battle Chess Games of Kings. They have also seemingly co-published a remaster in Kingpin Reloaded. It was met with negative reviews. When Fallout 3 ventured into the wastes in 2008, the game had changed, maybe even the genre as a whole. Gone were turn-based battles, isometric camera angles, and CRPG elements, and in its place was a first-person action RPG. While it retained many of the perks and stats from the 2D games, it blended it with first-person shooter gameplay, or as close to an FPS as Fallout 3 could manage. Fallout 3 did bring back VATS, the Vault-Assisted Targeting System, a feature used in the older games to target body parts. And it was very useful for not only breaking up gameplay in Fallout 3, but for breaking limbs too. Sure, it was disappointing that the game had changed so dramatically, at least for fans of the original games, but it was a finely suited RPG for console gamers, and Fallout 3 felt more like Fallout than Brotherhood of Steel ever did. Fallout 3 was well received by critics and largely saw almost perfect reviews. Sales proved strong, with Fallout 3 selling almost 5 million copies in 6 weeks of release. Not everyone was happy though, with some on fan site No Mutants Allowed complaining about the new direction of the series. And this has never gone away really, with some even today claiming Fallout 3 doesn't feel like a proper Fallout game. But that shouldn't put anyone off. Fallout 3 was a revelation when it released in 2008, offering unparalleled exploration, superb design and some sharp writing. While it's hard to explain what made Fallout 3 so special in 2024, going from old school RPGs to having your boots on the ground in the wasteland was an absolute revelation. We wouldn't need to wait long for a follow-up to Fallout 3 with the Obsidian developed Fallout New Vegas. A game which some very loud people like to very loudly say very often that this is the best in the series. Obsidian's Josh Sawyer and Chris Avallone had both worked on Fallout before, having been members of Black Isle Studio, who created Fallout 2, and had also worked on Van Buren. Sawyer and Avallone's love of the franchise made Obsidian the perfect choice, but no one said it would be easy. Fallout New Vegas was due to be totally developed in only 18 months, an absolutely mammoth task considering Fallout 3 took around 4 years to develop. The decision was made to ensure most of the core gameplay stayed the same, and instead focused their efforts on the content. The tone of New Vegas feels much more in line with the earlier entries in the series, employing a quirkier sense of humour and an unmistakable western feel, with Fallout 3's weirdly green grayness swapped out for dirt, rust and grit of the Mojave Desert. The plot this time does not revolve around a vault dweller venturing out into the waste, but instead you play as a courier who had been left for dead at the hands of Chandler Bing himself. This game also introduced a new faction into the series, the Imperial Roman army inspired Caesar's Legion. Fallout New Vegas would receive positive reviews from critics, but not positive enough it would seem. While it was amazingly well put together from a role-play perspective, the game had a number of bugs, and in some cases they were game-breaking. Go back and check out Vanilla New Vegas on PS3 and there's a high chance your eyes may bleed out of your ears. As part of their contract, Bethesda had put in place a bonus based upon critical performance of the game. Obsidian had missed out on this bonus by a very small margin, and the company was now in a precarious financial position. But we should mention that this was not because of the bonus, as many gamers might assume. The bonus in question was actually added by Bethesda. I suppose it would have been a big pat on the back for doing a good job, but instead of a big hand, it would be a big wedge of money. In the years since release, New Vegas has been significantly reassessed. Thanks to bug fixes and various patches, the game is now more stable and a much more enjoyable experience. The feel of New Vegas is much wilder, light and more humorous, without losing the darkness of the Fallout universe. Fallout New Vegas is now, for many, their favourite game in the series, and is my favourite modern Fallout game. Fallout had already evolved to be so much more than it was, so how could it evolve further? There was a short pit stop before we would get the next game in the series, as we'd get the spin-off mobile game Fallout Shelter. Released in 2015 on iOS and Android, Fallout Shelter was a vault building management sim. This game tasked you with building an underground vault to survive the radiation from above. It would later be released on PC, Xbox One, PS4 and Nintendo Switch. It received fairly mixed reviews, largely due to it falling into the usual mobile trappings of the era. There was lots of waiting around for things to be completed, but there were also microtransactions to speed up progress. And it was these microtransactions that seemed to garner much of Fallout Shelter's negativity. A version was released for Eastern markets called Fallout Shelter Online in 2019. It made a few minor changes to the formula, notably adding a gacha game, which is fine, I guess. After years and years of anticipation, Fallout 4 would release in 2015, and while it certainly looked better, it also brought a bevy of other improvements. Most notably, the first-person shooter aspects of the game felt much tighter and more satisfying, and the game also introduced building into the series, with characters being able to build structures piece by piece to varying degrees of success. One of the notable additions is the fully pilotable power armor, which feels suitably weighty and requires fusion cores in order to be used. Fallout 4 received solid reviews from critics, with many praising the upgrade in the series. While gamers generally praised the series, there were some criticisms of Fallout 4, as some pointed out that Fallout 4 doesn't solve the criticisms of previous Bethesda RPGs. Some fans were critical of the dumbed down conversation options as well as the limited options to actually roleplay. The building mechanics were not unwelcome but were cumbersome, and Preston Garvey's constant request to help settlements get tiresome after a while. Personally, I feel that the criticisms of Fallout 4 have a deeper meaning beyond Fallout 4 being a bad game, because it's not. I do prefer New Vegas over Fallout 4, sure, but it's still a brilliantly made open world RPG and certainly one of the best on the market. Criticisms could stem from changing attitudes towards Bethesda. Bethesda themselves are no stranger to controversy. All I have to do is mention horse armor DLC to see that they are not immune from making tonally deft decisions. One of their decisions is the continued use of the buggy creation engine system, but those poor decisions would not stop there. Just a quick one, there was a Fallout pinball table featured in the Bethesda collection for Zen Pinball, Pinball FX2 and FX3, so that's a thing. I don't know what those games are. If some fans were disappointed by Fallout 4, the next game would turn that disappointment into a whole bunch of disgust. Fallout 76 would prove to be a major fall from grace for the franchise. It wouldn't so much land in 2018, but it would faceplant. It suffered the worst critical drubbing of any Fallout game, with the PC version only hitting an average of 52% out of 100, and the user score sitting at a miserable 2.9 on Metacritic. Even The Guardian labelled the game a pointless walk in the post-apocalypse. Fallout 76 would be the first attempt at a multiplayer Fallout game since the cancelled Fallout Online, and fans hated it. No, I mean they really hated it. Reviews were full of derision for Fallout 76. A bizarre, boring, broken mess, cried Eurogamer. Newsweek claiming they found the game occasionally fun, marred by near constant performance issues. Fallout 76's criticisms wouldn't stop with poor press reception. As the game progressed, there would be several more controversies that would affect the game. A canvas bag pre-order bonus turned out not to be canvas at all and made merely from nylon. Bethesda had sent this canvas bag out to many influencers, but had failed to let fans know the pre-order version would be different. They would have to backtrack and eventually send new bags to affected customers. Players grew critical at the price of some of the game's aesthetic items. The Santa Claus set, which featured Santa and Mrs. Claus outfits, as well as icons and a decorative item, would cost a whopping $20. Bethesda also began mass banning players after some were caught exploiting Fallout 76's buggy nature with mods, but also this extended to people not exploiting the game, such as Jared Burkett, the person behind Map 76, who was merely attempting to make an online map using the game's data files. And who could forget Fallout First, a subscription model that cost $100 a year and would offer private worlds, placeable tents, unlimited junk storage and other benefits. However, this subscription would have been on top of the $60 you quite possibly spent buying the game at release. Fallout's live service future had failed like so many before it, and surely it would not be long before Bethesda pulled the plug. But Bethesda, to their credit, did not do this. They took the No Man's Sky route and decided to fix the game. Bugs were fixed, the performance was improved, and NPCs were added, something bizarrely missing from the game on release. The game now mostly has positive reviews on Steam. Personally, even after all the updates, Fallout 76 is not really what I want from a Fallout game. I mean, I get it, some people want their own live service post-apocalypse, but Fallout 76 was really not for me. People have always been well aware of the cinematic potential of Fallout. When Interplay Films formed in the 1990s, one of their first decisions was to put a Fallout movie into production. While the Fallout movie did not make it into full production, there was a 15-page treatment written by none other than video game movie legend Brent V. Friedman, the writer of Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Brother, you're alive. Too bad you will die.
The project would be cancelled with the dissolution of Interplay Films in 2000. It would take a quarter of a decade to see another Fallout adaptation, but boy would it be worth the wait. Fallout, a television series for Amazon Prime, was released in 2024 to mass acclaim. Not only was it a good show, it also kept the tone close to that of the series, featuring accurate outfits, sets and even lore. Starring Ella Purnell, Aaron Moulton and Walton Goggins, Fallout would span 8 episodes and prove to be a love letter to Fallout fans, as well as a fantastic series in its own right. But what about games? Fallout 5 is in development and that's all we know about it. Following the release of Starfield, Bethesda are now hard at work on The Elder Scrolls 6, so don't expect to see another Fallout game for some time. But now Microsoft owns Bethesda, I cannot imagine they'd want to pass by the opportunity for new Fallout while the brand is hot. Perhaps we could see a new spin-off? Maybe Fallout Tactics 2? Whatever happens, we'll have to wait and see and hope the real apocalypse doesn't visit us in the meantime. Wow, that took a dark turn right at the end there. So what do you think of Fallout? And when did you join the apocalypse? And let us know down in the comments. If you'd like to see more, basically, we need your support, so don't forget to like and subscribe. A huge thank you if you already do. I actually was given a pirated version of Fallout as a child, and I didn't know any better. However, there was some cheeky anti-piracy measures in place, meaning that you could never get the Pip-Boy, so I had to go around playing the whole game with a notepad, writing down all my missions by hand. It was a royal pain in the arse, and the lesson to us all that piracy does not pay. Although technically privacy has turned me into a lifelong Fallout fan, so swings and roundabouts I guess. Maybe piracy is okay. It's not, but maybe not bad. No, it's not.